All right, welcome back to another teaching on Revelation 20, verses 7 through 10. We're going to be dealing with Gog and Magog. Revelation 20, verses 7 through 10. My name is Chris Dubois, and it's a joy and an honor to be able to teach the Word of God. Amen. So let's get right into it. So I was talking in the last video about Gog and Magog, and I stopped it because I didn't want to go too long. And I'm trying to shorten my videos. So here we go. I'm trying to keep them 10 to 15 minutes a piece and just do more videos for you. So here we go. So we're in, let's read it again, Revelation 20, verses 7 through 8. And then the 1,000 years are ended, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations that are from the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. Their number is like the sand of the sea. All right, so let's get right into it. Magog is first listed as one of the sons of Japheth in Genesis 10:2. Genesis 10:2. And where do we go when we think Gog Magog? Of course, we go to Ezekiel 38 and Ezekiel 39. Now, this is where it gets really confusing because a lot of people just assume that the battle in Ezekiel 38 and 39 is the same one here in Revelation 20, verses 7 through 10. And I'm going to make a case, in my opinion, this is very debatable amongst the universal church, but I think they're two different, distinct battles being discussed. My argument is simply that Ezekiel 38 and 39 is describing the Battle of Armageddon, whereas Revelation 27 through 10 is a completely different, separate battle after the millennial reign of Christ. As we know, the Battle of Armageddon happens at the end, after the 3.5-year Great Tribulation, before Christ's second coming. It happens right after the rapture of the church. So I believe that happens all before the millennial reign of Christ, Ezekiel 38 and 39, the Battle of Armageddon. But the one here in Revelation 20, verses 7 through 10, happens after the millennial reign of Christ. It's a whole different ballgame. And I'll give you more reasons why I believe that in a few minutes here. But let's look at Ezekiel 38 through 39 real quick. Ezekiel 38, verse 2 says, Gog is a chief prince of Meshech. I hope I'm saying that right. Forgive me if I'm butchering that word. In Tubal, who leads an end-time invasion against Israel and is a prince of the land of Magog. So Magog is a land here. Gog is a person. He's a chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and he's also the prince of the land of Magog. In Revelation 20, Gog and Magog is symbolic of the four nations, or four corners, I should say, four corners of the earth. Look there in verse 8 of Revelation 20. Okay, so he'll come out, Satan, to deceive the nations that are at the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog. So it's symbolism again. So Gog and Magog are referring to the four corners of the earth, basically the world, okay? And Ezekiel 38 and 39 is specifically talking about a specific land called Magog and a specific prince or ruler called Gog. It's a totally different ballgame. It's totally a different situation, different context. Also, if we look at Ezekiel 38 and 39, these armies come from the north. I have to stretch it. So it's only these armies coming against Jerusalem, coming against Israel, and it's coming from the north, whereas in Revelation 20, it's from the four corners of the earth. Also, it talks in Ezekiel 38 and 39, here I'm going to turn there, about needing 7 months to bury the dead, whereas in Revelation 20, fire just consumes them and they're done. So it's a different thing altogether. Why would they need 7 months to bury the dead if right after the millennial reign of Christ, the new heavens and the new earth come about, which is the case according to Revelation 20? So it makes very little sense. So also in verse 9 of Ezekiel 39, it says that then those who dwell in the cities of Israel will go out and make fires of the weapons and burn them, shields and bucklers, bow and arrows, clubs and spears, and they will make fire for them for 7 years. This whole span of 7 years makes no sense if it's the same thing as the Gog and Magog of Revelation 20, because in Revelation 20 it's after the millennial reign, and right after the millennial reign, in the verses to follow in Revelation 20, at the end of Revelation 20, it talks about the first heavens and the first earth are gone, they're destroyed. In the Revelation 21, the new heavens and the new earth come. So there's no period of 7 years, there's no period of 7 months. It's just a whole different context and a whole different situation. Let's see here. Verse Ezekiel 39, verse 11 says, "On that day I will give to Gog a place of burial in Israel. The valley of the travelers east of the sea will block the travelers. For there Gog and all his multitude will be buried." Why will there be burying going on? According to Revelation 20, fire comes down from heaven, Revelation 20, verse 9, and consumes them. That's just like total annihilation and destruction. There won't be a need for burial. So again, there's huge differences here, which makes me believe, in my opinion, that it's two separate battles going on here, two separate things altogether. Also here in Ezekiel 39, verse 11, it will be called the Valley of Gog, and most scholars here and commentators believe this is this ties into the Battle of Armageddon, the fields or the Valley of Megiddo, the plain of Megiddo, where the battle will take place, and this all ties into that. Again, backing up my belief that this is actually referring to the Battle of Armageddon, and I can't prove this, but many scholars and commentators will agree with me on this. It is debatable, but I think Gog here is probably, I can't prove it, but is probably the Antichrist, leading these nations from north to come against Israel and try to destroy it in the Battle of Armageddon. But Jesus comes with the church and angels riding on white horses to put a stop and to destroy them completely here. So notice in Ezekiel 39:12, for 7 months the house of Israel will be burying them in order to cleanse the land. All the people, verse 13, of the land will bury them, and will bring them renown on the day that I show my glory, declares the Lord God. So I just think that burial and the 7 years or 7 months, all of that is like unnecessary for Revelation 20, where the fire just comes down, consumes them, and then the new heavens and new earth just come about. I just think this is just a completely different situation altogether. Not to mention that in Ezekiel 38:39, it's only from the north, whereas in Revelation 20 is from the four corners of the earth. So it's not that the New Testament is bringing further clarity and just adding to Ezekiel 38 and 39. It is that they're contradicting one another and totally different. So it makes me think it's two separate things. All right, so let's see here. I like what Robert Mountz says. This is what Robert Mountz again says. Both Gog and Magog are symbolic figures representing the nations of the world which band together for a final assault upon God and his people. He's referring here in Revelation 20. No specific geographical designations are intended. They are simply hostile nations from all across the world. I can't say it any better myself. So I think that quote is right on. That's from Robert Mountz's commentary, the New International Commentary on the New Testament, Book of Revelation. And I referred to him earlier as well. I don't know if it was this video or the last. I'm lost, sorry. So, anyways, again, Revelation 20 is completely different from the Battle of Armageddon. Now we see the Battle of Armageddon. I've done already videos on this in Revelation 17, verse 14. Revelation 17:14, which says, "They will make war on the Lamb." Who's the Lamb? Jesus. "And the Lamb will conquer them, for he is Lord of lords, and King of kings, and those with him are called and chosen and faithful." That's a church, right? The saints. Also Revelation 19, verses 18 through 19. Revelation 19, 18 through 19, to eat the flesh of kings, the flesh of captains, the flesh of mighty men, the flesh of horses and their riders, and the flesh of all men, both free and slave, both small and great. And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth with their armies. I think this is now Ezekiel 38 and 39 here, the Battle of Armageddon. They're gathered to make war against him, against Jesus, who is sitting on the white horse, and against his army, the church, and probably angels too. And the beast was captured, and with it the false prophet who was in the presence had done the signs by which he deceived those who had received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped its image. And these two were thrown alive into the lake of fire that burns with sulfur. And we also got the Battle of Armageddon here in Revelation 16, verses 13 through 14. Revelation 16, verses 13 through 14. And I saw coming out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, 3 unclean spirits like frogs, and they are demonic spirits performing signs, who go abroad to the kings of the whole world to assemble them for battle on the great day of God the Almighty. So I think that's referring to it as well. And of course, Zechariah 14 as well. So I won't get into Zechariah 14, but you can also see it in there. All right, so let's go back to Revelation 20 here, verse 9. And they marched up over the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints in the beloved city. But fire came down from heaven and consumed them. So what's the beloved city? The beloved city is Jerusalem, right? So the two main cities in the Bible are Babylon and Jerusalem. They're contrasted, right? Babylon is a wicked, evil city. Jerusalem is a holy, beloved city of God. And so we got the beloved city, which is Jerusalem. So here in this Gog and Magog battle of Revelation 20, they're coming against Jerusalem. And it's important to get this. So this is the final eschatological or end times battle. It's short-lived though, right? Satan leads the nations of the earth to surround the encampment of the saints. Jerusalem, many saints or Christians live in Jerusalem. It's their capital city during the millennial kingdom. We know the millennial temple is in Jerusalem according to Ezekiel 40 through 48, and that sacrifices are taking place and festivals are taking place there according to Ezekiel 40 through 48, which I take literal. I know some take it symbolic. I take it literal that there really will be sacrifices and festivals going on in Jerusalem with a millennial temple, a literal rebuilt millennial temple. Here's another reason I think Ezekiel 38 through 39 is separate from Revelation 20. If you read Ezekiel 38 through 39, it's the Battle of Armageddon before the millennial 1,000-year reign of Christ takes place. Then you see in Ezekiel 40 through 48, the millennial reign of Christ. That details it specifically here. So we won't get into it, but if you study Ezekiel 40, chapters 40 through 48, you'll see the millennial reign of Christ. You'll see the temple. You'll see the sacrifices, the feasts, the festivals taking place during the millennial reign of Christ with the Jews and the Gentiles that are part of that celebrate those things. And then you also see in the end of Ezekiel 48 the gates of the city. I believe that's the new heavens and the new earth, the Jerusalem that comes down from above, described in Revelation 21 through 22. So what I'm saying is this backs up my view that Ezekiel 38 and 39 is separate from the Revelation 20 Gog and Magog. They're two different things, because the one in 38 and 39 takes place before the millennium. Then you got the millennium, and then you got the new heavens and new earth in the city of Jerusalem coming down in Ezekiel 48. It all ties together chronologically. So if Ezekiel 38 and 39 is the same as Revelation 20, it would be out of chronological order in the book of Ezekiel. It would be showing that it happens before the millennium, which makes no sense, because in Revelation 20, the Gog and Magog battle there happens after the millennium. Does that make sense? So we know that we know that Ezekiel 40 through 48, when it talks about the temple and sacrifices, we know in Revelation 21 through 22 there'll be no temple in this new city on the new heavens and new earth. So Ezekiel 40 through 48 cannot be talking about the new heavens, the new heavens and the new earth, the eternal state. It must be talking about the millennial kingdom, which Zechariah 14 verses 16 through 19 tells us that during the millennial reign of Christ in Israel on this earth, there will be the Feast of Tabernacles that will be taking place in sacrifices. So it all ties together perfectly. It all ties together beautifully to show that it's two separate events. All right. So let's see here. Notice here that no actual battle in Revelation 20 occurs. No actual battle occurs. God intervenes. He destroys those who would try to destroy his people. All right. So it's short-lived. God sends fire down from heaven and consumes them. This reminds us of 2 Kings 1, in which Elijah calls down fire from heaven twice, which consumes groups of 50 soldiers with their captains. All right, this brings that story to mind. So let's look at verse 10 here. And the devil who has deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet were, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. So notice the devil was locked up in the abyss, the pit, for 1,000 years. But before that happened to him, the false prophet and the beast, the Antichrist and the false prophet, were thrown into the lake of fire. They were the first ones to go there. Now the devil goes there, and next, we'll talk about that in the next video, non-believers will go there as well. It's the lake of fire or hell, okay, the second death. It's eternal death. And we see here that now Satan is thrown in there for eternity, never to bother, deceive, or torment anybody ever again. And notice it's eternal, it lasts forever. There's no such thing as an annihilation view that it will eventually cease to exist. It goes on forever and ever with nothing ever stopping it. Notice the words forever and ever. So the devil gets his just due. God is just. He's holy. He's righteous. The false prophet get it. The beast get it. The devil gets it. And eventually all unbelievers will get it too. Revelation 20, verse 15, as well as the sea, as well as death and Hades. Revelation 20, verse 14. So this is scary. They'll be tormented day and night forever and ever. It's conscious, eternal torment. And Matthew 8:29 tells us demons know their torment to come. Matthew 25, verse 41 says that hell was created for the devil. God doesn't want anybody to go there. It's created for the devil and his demons, but man chooses to go there if they reject Jesus. So sin is eternal, and therefore its consequences are as well. Let's close there. I hope this teaching has helped you guys out. God bless you, and keep going after Jesus. Keep following Jesus. God bless. Bye now.